Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizards, oh, 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 oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, oh, oh. That's a wizard show.
Good morning and welcome. How are you? It is Wednesday. It is the 23rd day of April 2025. It's about 8:35 in the morning. It's 53 degrees and cloudy here at Site B. So, of course, I have a migraine. So I'm running a little late today. We're going to keep this really short because there's really only one bit of news from our friends at Wizards of the Coast that has since last week, and that's the SRD. The new System Reference Document 5.2 is live. So if you don't believe everything I've been saying about it or anybody else has been saying about it, or if you have any questions about it, it's online. So you could read it yourself instead of trusting me. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because nobody has that kind of time. And it's pretty much blah, 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 yakety smackety, legalese. I could do the thing where I show you the kittens and just go through it, but I have a feeling people really just don't like me listening to reading things or doing math for extended periods of time. So blam, there it is. Let's get to the nuts and bolts, the major questions. First, where's the SRD for the old stuff? Right? Because didn't they promise us that they would do SRDs for 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, however you want to number them, everything that isn't under 5, right? That was one of the things that came out of the OGL was, hey, we're going to make the old stuff available to you guys. We're going to make that OGL thing pointless. We're just going to have all of it fall under the SRD. Don't worry about it. Well, that still hasn't happened. And it did come up in a conversation that I read a couple of days ago questioning where it is. And the answer is, we're working on it. There's a few nuts and bolts that we still got to, and shake up the thing. Plus, we don't want to represent the 3.5, 4.0, 2.10 AD&D, D&D, white box, green box, blue box stuff if it has anything problematic in it. So we got to go and make sure all that problematic stuff's out of the game before we represent it. So it's taking a while. Of course, the trouble is that they're still following this false narrative of everything that existed before 2014 was racist, sexist, homophobic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they don't want to be associated with that non-existent prejudice. So when and if they ever make the older stuff available, it will, of course, have passed through the sensitivity readers and be some whitewashed version of what you want. But it's not like that stuff isn't available. You can find the old stuff online. Some of it easier than others, but yeah, you can find it. And some of it more expensive than other, but the PDFs are out there, guys. So if you're really looking for a copy of an older game or an older product like Against the Giants, you can find it. I still see people post all the time on Twitter and Facebook and wherever else that, hey, I found a copy of Vault of the Drow in a bookstore. Hey, I got this copy, so they're out there. There's a finite number of them out there. And thanks to the genius of PDFs, there's an infinite number of those. So if there's an older thing you want, just do a little research. Don't expect Wizards of the Coast to magically change their mind, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon, or if at all. Now, the second part, of course, is in regards to anybody who has made stuff for Wizards of the Coast or TSR in the past, or anybody else who is considering making stuff for Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons 5 or Dungeons and Dragons 6, how does the SRD apply to them? We have said some comments already. Anyone happening to be playing the Greyhawk server in Northwest None EE? I noticed that Drive-Thru RPG no longer has print on demand of D&D stuff. Well, maybe a couple left. I don't know that. I'll have to look at that. I've still not seen anything racist or problematic in the older books, John D. Well, I mean, you have to look at it with the right eyes, you know. I mean, if you're really looking and you look at it, John, through a very specific I don't know. I mean, you have to look at through a specific lens, and you have to tell yourself, oh, I've got to find something that even vaguely looks vaguely problematic. Like, oh, how come women characters can't have the same stats as male characters? Oh, that's sexist. How come elves, like Ted from Nerd Immersion is Ted from Nerd Immersion is a reliable. How come elves have different stats than humans? Oh, that's racist. How come drow elves are evil and have black skin? Well, that's racist. So yeah, that's the logic that they made, John. So I'm not going to go through all of this because one, I have a headache, and two, it's already been covered to death. But okay, if you made stuff before today, ever, and it's somewhere in the Wizards of the Coast TSR vaults, whether you submitted it yesterday, a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, some contest, an article, whatever, that's theirs. That's theirs. There's 100% Wizards of the Coast, 100% open source for the AI to go through. They can take that article you submitted 20 years ago that they never published, and if it's still there, they can use it in any which way they want. They don't have to tell you, and they don't have to pay you. Now, if you release something now to, say, Wizards of the Coast running a contest, or put it on D&D Beyond, or put it on DM's Guild, or put it on Roll20, or put it on anything that is directly associated with Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, that they have some say in, it's theirs. It's 100% theirs. They can do with it whatever they want. They can have it sit on a shelf and say, well, you submitted it for the contest, but you didn't win the contest, but it's ours and you can never use it again. And then 5 years from now, they can go, hey, let's print this thing. And you can say, hey, that's mine. And they can say, so. So yeah, if it's on D&D Beyond, if you uploaded it on D&D Beyond, it's theirs. They can do with it whatever they want. They don't have to tell you. They can change it. They can hold it for years. They can sell it, and they don't have to pay it. If you put it on Drive-Thru or DM's Guild, it's theirs. They can do whatever they want with this. Same with Roll20, same with anything else that's official. So what tools are available for me? Well, not me, but for somebody out there who wants to make 5th edition adjacent product and not deal with the Wizards of the Coast. Is there a way to make a 5e product without dealing with 5e? Yes. Yes, there is. You can release that stuff under something that uses, I don't know, an open license like the ORC, or anything like that, because there's stuff out there that says compatible with 5th edition, compatible with Shadow Dark, compatible with the OSR or OSC, but doesn't fall within their narrative of control. You just have to use somebody else's reference document and phrase it in certain ways so that Wizards can't say it's theirs. And again, that's something you could have always done. Before the OGL nonsense, you could release D&D stuff and not get in any trouble. And technically until today, when this went live, or the other day, you could have still released stuff and not get in trouble. But now you can't. But there are ways to still do that if you just want to use the ORC, or if you want to use another company's release thing, so you don't have to deal with that. Because see, really, the only reason anybody would still want to, or really ever has wanted to, put stuff under the magic blanket, I like that, magic blanket of Dungeons and Dragons, isn't because they got a better deal It's because the name. I made a product for Dungeons and Dragons that got published by Wizards of the Coast, TSR, whoever. I made a product that's on D&D Beyond. Sounds real cool. It's bragging rights. You released an official Dungeons and Dragons product. You can say you're a Dungeons and Dragons writer, creator. I can say, because I play tested 5, I'm a Dungeons and Dragons playtester. And that used to mean a lot. And really, that is the reason you would do something like that. Not because they're going to pay you more or less or anything like that. It was the name. It was the name recognition, as opposed to somebody saying, well, I made a product under the OGL that was released by Hinkle, Winkle, and Nod Gaming that you can use with D&D, but it doesn't have the Dungeons and Dragons thing on it. Well, you still released a D&D product. Way to go. Congratulations. You still got paid, but it doesn't have the bells and whistles. You know, if you're a novice and you're looking on the shelves and you see For Use with Shadowdark or Wizards of the Coast presents Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Winter's Guide to Bagels. Well, instinctively, the eye of the consumer is going to go to the official. And that's what Wizards is counting on. That's what Wizards has always counted on, that you will either not bother reading the SRD or not care, because you're counting on the recognition. They're counting that people will still put stuff on D&D Beyond. They're counting on people will still put stuff on Drive-Thru and DM's Guild and Roll20 and whatever else falls under the SRD because of name recognition. Because you still want a product that you can say was an official Dungeons and Dragons product. I got paid to create a Dungeons and Dragons product. And look how long Mackenzie DeArms, that interesting individual, milked the fact that she made a official Dungeons and Dragons product, and she was the first official canonically autistic individual in the history of D&D, and her character created the Deck of Many Things. She milked the fact that that gave her 15 minutes of fame. She counted on that, and the controversy that she inevitably created gave her 15 minutes of fame. She didn't do it for money. She did it for the recognition. And that would be the same reason why you, BV Luminous, or any of the other 13 people who are listening right now, that would be the same reason why you today would want to do a product on the SRD. And hey, if you do, that's great. All for it. I mean, if you get published, you get published. Congratulations. I'm all for you trying if that's what you want to do. My job here is not to tell you not to do it. I don't think you should. I think there's still other ways to get stuff out there without dealing with it. But if you want the naming recognition, if you want to say, hey, I made an official D&D product that's on D&D Beyond, do it. I mean, do it. Just, I want you to understand what's going to happen as best as I can in my limited ability to explain this to you. BV Luminous says, excuse me. Oh, because I used your name in an example. Sorry. I like to make people feel like they're part of the streams. I just want you to know what you're getting into. And I want you not to feel like I'm, insulting you or that I'm lying or anything like that, or I'm trying to witch trials Wizards of the Coast, okay? Wizards of the Coast knows that there's nothing I'm going to ever say or do that's really, really going to affect anything that happens to Wizards. I am one small voice in the wilderness of millions, and I will always be overshadowed by the Genie Ds of the D&D world. So, but if I can convince you to at least consider other options or understand what you're getting yourself into if you choose to release a product, that, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, the only Broham asks, hey, your boy Casey here, and you know if Critical Role's new Daggerheart system will be affected by this or no because it's its own system. We briefly brought up the Critical Role connection. I'll go over it again. Daggerheart is based on Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark is based upon Powered by the Apocalypse. So although Dagger in the Heart uses some of the similar dice and some names that might be similar, certain words, like strength. No, the system is completely different. So that no, it won't be affected by anything Wizards of the Coast does, because Daggerheart isn't produced by Wizards of the Coast. It's produced by Critical Role's old production company here in California. And they said the one thing Critical Role's got going for it is that they made their product here in the United States and they printed it here in the United States. So they didn't got to rule the tariffs. One question that nobody's bothered to ask, not that this has anything to do with what we're talking about, is what will Critical Role's relationship with Wizards of the Coast be going forward now that this has happened? Will they have a relationship? Well, I think with Perkins gone, no. I have repeatedly said I don't see any reason for them to have a relationship with Wizards of the Coast anymore. They tied up anything having to do with Xandria, Tal'Dorei. They said it was technically done, so they don't really have to return to Tal'Dorei if they don't want to. They are starting a new game on a new world that's going to be a mini series using Daggerheart. But as for campaign 4, it's looking more and more like 90% Daggerheart, 10%, who knows, older D&D, maybe, I don't know. Chris Perkins' relationship with Matt Mercer was one of the main reasons why Critical Role D&D really happened in the first place, and why they held on for so long, even after the OGL scandal. But now that Christopher Perkins has gone, there's no real reason for them to associate with Wizards of the Coast. Nobody that they worked with in the past is there anymore. I don't know. There was obviously Critical Role things published by Wizards of the Coast. But, does it fall under the same weird wibbly wobbly that Eberron falls under and Dragonlance falls over? Or does it fall under it's no matter what you do, Wizards of the Coast, this is mine? Or are they saying, hey, I'm ending it because I did sign this contract with you, so you can use Wizards Critical Role stuff? But no, I don't think so. I don't think so, because remember, the main subplot of campaign 3 was to scrub any connection between Tal'Dorei, Critical Role, and Wizards of the Coast. That's why Matt Mercer ran that very long, and some say not very good. And the main plot was killing off the gods, killing off anything that associated Matt Mercer's work with D&D. So when campaign 4 comes out, when Daggerheart comes out, when they make anything going forward, there's no connection with D&D. If they release a new Tal'Dorei source book, it will have scrubbed out any of the connections with D&D. It'll kind of be like the same thing that Paizo did with Pathfinder 2 and then Pathfinder 2 Core, where they scrubbed out anything that connected it to D&D. Does it include Baldur's Gate? No. Does it include Mystara? Yes. Baldur's Gate the game is theirs. Baldur's Gate 3, the brand is Wizards. So the SRD does include the game. It doesn't include the game engine, but it does include the name of the game and any recognizable characters in the game. Does it include Mystara? Yes. Does it include Birthright? Yes. Does it include Darksun? Yes. Does it include obscure Wizards of the Coast game probably nobody remembers, or obscure, TSR game nobody remembers, like Alternity? or Dragon Drive, or Phase Rip Marvel. Does it include Phase Rip Marvel? No. Because that's owned by somebody else. So no, it doesn't include Phase Rip Marvel. Does it include Gamma World? I think so. I don't know what it does and doesn't include, but I just assume. Well, he did replace the deities. If it has ever had the name Dungeons and Dragons in it, it's Wizards. If you want to print stuff for Wizards of the Coast today, or if there's a contest tomorrow and you want to submit it, or put it on D&D Beyond, or put it on Roll20, or put it on anything other that is officially associated with Wizards of the Coast, it becomes their property to do with what they want, when they want, without telling you and without paying you. If you submitted something to, remember the Eberron contest? I submitted something to that contest. If you submitted something ever to a contest or to be produced by them, whether they actually published it or not, it's theirs. And if tomorrow they decide to have the AI go through their 50-year catalog and the AI stumbles across that thing you wrote 20 years ago, it can use it, and they don't have to tell you, and they don't have to pay you because of this. But don't worry. Like I said, I'm going to repeat this one more time before I sign off. You can still make D20 stuff. You always could. Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast is relying on that fear that you can't, that you think you can't. Dungeons and Dragons is relying, Wizards of the Coast is relying on the fear that you think you need them. And you don't. We have never needed them. You've always been able to produce stuff without their okay. Now it's just a little bit harder, but there are other avenues. There are other open source documents out there that allow you to run D&D adjacent product. You just have to avoid using certain words. I mean, you can never use the things that they own 100%, like mind flayers. But there's nothing to say you can't release another product that has something that eats brains and looks vaguely Lovecraftian that isn't called mind flayers. It has a different name. Shadow Dark has something called Brain Eaters. But if you read the description, yep, they're mind flayers. So the doors are there. And again, please, if you want to produce something for Wizards of the Coast because you want that brand recognition, because you know you can have the wherewithal to say, I made an official Dungeons and Dragons product, go for it. I'm not telling you not to. It's your life. It's your product. It's your money. Do with it as you will. Just please understand what will happen to your product if you do. But if you don't care, then that's fine. Go for it. But also understand that there are other options available to you out there, so you could still make your stuff without dealing with this nonsense. So hopefully, if there is something that has been gestating in your brain, you'll do a little research. Spend a weekend looking at the other SRDs, the other open sources out there. Look at what Paizo has. Look at what Troll Lord Games has. Look at what Free League has, and of course, look at the Tales from the Valiant ORC has, and look at Shadow Dark too, or look at any of the other SRDs that are out there that allow you to play and write and create D20 product. So you have options. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go because this is kind of boring. And it's not like I'm not going to say anything different. And I have a headache. So I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by and saying hi. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Please support the OGGM adventures. If you have, a few spare dimes and you want to support your poor boy who's out here alone in the wilderness trying to keep this fun and light. And now I will leave you with that wonderful song, just remind yourself as we end this, as we do every Wednesday, in regards to all this nonsense. That's just wizards.
Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizards, oh, 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 oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, oh, oh. That's a wizard show. Mischief in the classroom, potions gone astray. Flying through the quad, now brighter every day. Laughter we cry hard, sneaking out at night. Cloaks in the moonlight, everything feels right. That's so wizards, oh, oh, oh.